staying with us after the Red Sox thrilling victory. For Fox 22 News at 10, I'm Doug Banks. Max Stern will be in later with a recap of the late inning heroics and with a recap of the Patriots game too, which ended in similar fashion. But first, here on the broadcast, word is spreading fast here in the state of Maine that ICE agents may be planning large-scale enforcement actions on farms and construction sites. Brad Rogers shows us the warnings going out, the potential impact, and the rights of farms and work sites should ICE pay them a visit.
The Maine Organic Farmers and Gardeners Association, or MOFGA, says it has received information ICE is planning to raid farms and construction sites in Maine, with an emphasis on farms employing foreign workers here on a visa. MOFGA put out a warning that immigration authorities may be planning enforcement actions across the state starting as early as this weekend, but now say the dates are not confirmed. MOFGA also received reports of ICE agents using drones to monitor activity on farms and job sites.
It's disgusting and predatory.
Farm worker Anna Marco says ICE raids on Maine farms would be devastating right now.
Going after farm workers at the beginning of our harvest season, the peak of harvest season, in a state with a right to food and a right to food sovereignty is disgusting. It's a violation of our state laws.
We still are preparing for worst case scenario.
The Maine Immigrants' Rights Coalition says construction sites and farms do have rights. Without a warrant signed by a judge, they can prevent ICE agents from going on private property.
Farms and construction sites, while they have some areas that are exposed to public view, they are also extended those privacy protections, and farm owners and business owners can control access points. So that's why those protections still require a warrant in order to access entry to certain locations.
But it's still very hard, as farmers, we're all working hard and we may not see what's happening at one side of the property.
Farm owner Robin Silverman says even the threat of ICE raids might keep farm and construction workers from other countries from going to work.
These are good, hardworking people who want to stay and live in Maine and help create the food that we all need to eat, and we have to do whatever we can to support the people who are trying to work hard and earn a living and are now afraid to go outside.
We asked Homeland Security and ICE if they're planning to focus more on farms and construction sites. So far, we've gotten no response. MOFGA is urging anyone who sees a drone flying over a farm or construction site to report it to the ICE Watch hotline.
And that was Brad Rogers reporting. Next here on the broadcast, an arrest has been made nearly 2 weeks after Rockland police say someone was assaulted and had his medication stolen. According to the Rockland Police Department, that incident occurred back on August 10th, and they believe the victim was targeted due to his mental health and cognitive ability. Their investigation led the Waterboro Police Department to arrest 36-year-old Leroy Parker Jr. yesterday. Authorities say the incident started when Parker and several other unidentified individuals in a vehicle attempted to trade the victim crack cocaine for his medications. Then, after attempting to trade fake crack cocaine made of rocks, Parker assaulted and stole the victim's medication. At the time of the incident, police say Parker was on 5 sets of bail conditions. He was arrested yesterday for felony robbery, felony stealing of drugs, assault, and violation of conditions of release. Rockland Police says the investigation remains ongoing, and those with information about the case can visit this story on our website, foxbangor.com, to learn who you should contact. In other news, we are learning the name of the pilot who passed away in a plane crash in Bristol back on Thursday. The pilot was identified as 52-year-old John B. Hall from Lee, New Hampshire, and his 21-year-old son, who was injured, were on board the plane when it went down into the waters of the Pemquid River. The crash is now under investigation by the National Transportation Safety Board. Max Williams has more on what might have led up to the crash.
We're told that 2 NTSB investigators are on their way to the scene here in Bristol, right in front of Fort William Henry. Part of the scene today is still caution tape off. We're told by the sheriff's office that as the plane came down, it struck one of these wooden boxes here. You can see the damage there, and then made its way down to the water, coming just feet away from a home.
Tragedy. What a tragedy.
A father and son outing turned deadly Thursday as their plane went down into the waters of Pemaquid River. The flight tracking site Flight Aware shows a small 2-seater propeller-powered plane took off from Brunswick Executive Airport just before 12:30. The plane's flight path shows it was only in the air for a total of 30 minutes, making a few circles just after takeoff before making its way up the coast.
I don't see anything that's really unusual, of course, until the last
the very last minute.
Randy Klatt is an aviation expert based out of Portland who says flight data indicates the plane most likely suffered a mechanical issue.
It was only at about 1,000 feet when it started to descend very rapidly, so it didn't have much time. And I don't suppose there really is a very good landing area in that specific space.
Klatt says while the pilot could have suffered a medical emergency, the damage to the plane as it was taken out of the water by a barge shows that might not be the case.
So that leads us to believe that, maybe it was a little bit more of a controlled flight into the ground. In other words, an attempted landing that ended up going bad when it entered the water.
Flight data shows that the plane is flown frequently, sometimes multiple times a day, with trips up to 2 hours long. The NTSB will release a preliminary crash report within 30 days.
That was Max Williams reporting. To the town of Milford now, 2 people were injured in a motorcycle crash in Milford yesterday. According to the Milford Fire and Rescue Department, the call came just before noon for a crash on Main Road involving a motorcycle and a pickup truck. Milford Fire and Rescue says 2 people from the motorcycle were transported to Northern Lights Eastern Maine Medical Center, both with critical injuries. They say the driver of the truck was shaken but not injured. The Penobscot County Sheriff's Office and Maine State Police also responded to do an investigation and assist in traffic control. Meanwhile, there have been 28 fatal motorcycle accidents reported here in the state of Maine so far this year as of Friday, yesterday. It doubles the amount for the same time last year. Yesterday, I spoke with a local riding instructor about the importance of safety on the roads.
It's shocking that there's just so many deaths.
Fatal motorcycle accidents in Maine are higher than they were this time last year.
And we're only in August.
As of Friday, Maine Department of Public Safety spokesperson Shannon Moss tells us there have been 28 motorcycle fatalities. As of this same day last year, that number was 14.
Most people that are driving a vehicle are usually looking for something as big or bigger than them, and some people just don't see us. It's unintentional blindness.
According to Moss, the circumstances surrounding each incident varies, and there does not appear to be a common factor among the 28 crashes. But she says several recent incidents have involved another vehicle entering or crossing the path of a motorcycle and motorcycles leaving the roadway. Moss adds that several of those killed in recent crashes were not wearing a helmet.
We teach in the class to wear all the gear all the time.
The numbers bring attention to road safety. Anderson advises motorcyclists to pay attention, slow down at busy intersections, and wear protective gear.
Motorcyclists shouldn't ride beyond their skill level. Prepare yourself. Think of everything as a potential problem or potential issue so you can stay ahead of it.
And for those on 4 wheels or more,
look twice, look for motorcyclists. We're smaller, but it still takes us just as long to stop as it does in a car.
Doug Banks reporting for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News. In other news here on the broadcast, measles has been detected in wastewater samples from Bangor recently. Medical experts say it's an important heads up for the community, but not necessarily more than that. The wastewater testing by the CDC looked for the actual virus that causes measles. Follow-up tests did not find any elements of the virus. Dr. James Jarvis from Northern Light Health tells us that there have been no new cases of measles since the small cluster of cases in Bangor that was reported months ago. So experts say there isn't necessarily cause for immediate concern, but the wastewater testing results are a reason to be vigilant.
For anybody, but this is a great reminder that things like measles still circulate out there. And we have fantastic vaccines that help prevent these diseases, and particularly the mumps, measles, and rubella, or MMR vaccine, is very effective in protecting people against measles.
Dr. Jarvis encourages those with concerns about vaccines to speak with their physician to get accurate information and data about the safety of vaccines in the United States. He also reminds folks to practice good hygiene, wash their hands, cough or sneeze into the crook of their elbow, and be vigilant in knowing the common symptoms of measles. Other news, we're still months away from the general election, but as we've reported, attack ads are already ramping up in Maine's congressional races, especially in the high-stakes Senate race. Political expert Mark Brewer says it's usually Labor Day or late September when ads take a turn for the more severe. He says the early escalation is not the norm, and the upward trend speaks to the gravity of the race's outcome. Here's what he says voters should keep in mind as they weather the storm of political ads.
I would evaluate these ads as real simple. Is what it's saying true? right? Is it true? If it's true, it's fair. I would say it's above board and fair game if it's true, right? If it's a lie, then that's not above board and not fair, right? If it's somewhere in the middle, as a lot of political ads are, right, that it's not clear if it's true or if it's false, then I think that's where we rely on, folks like you in the media to do the fact checks. And that is also where voters have to kind of do some of their own work. And well, how do I evaluate this?
Brewer says that it can be a tough job for voters, but it is important to ask questions and not to take ads at face value. All right, folks, let's hit pause and turn things over to Chase Ropanak, who's in now with the first look at your forecast. Chase?
Thank you very much. Highs were able to reach near 80 for us here in Bangor for today, but we did get the increase in cloud cover, and a few showers did help us cool off out there later this afternoon into this evening. Low to mid 70s though for your coastline for today. Only a high of 70 in Rockland, but you did see mid to upper 70s make their way further north. 78 in Holton, 77 in Presque Isle out there for you this afternoon. So tonight, a few showers, maybe a few rumbles of thunder even are passing through the area tonight. Into tomorrow, there is still going to be plenty of dry hours out there, but expect another round of showers right around 2 to 5 p.m. for us here in the Bangor area tomorrow, as low pressure continues to keep us cloudy and a bit cooler for your Sunday as well. So overnight tonight, on and off scattered showers throughout the region. We will not see an all-night rain. There will be some dry hours. Same for tomorrow. Lows tonight hanging out near the low 60s.
Good to know, Chase. Thank you for that report. We'll see you later on the broadcast. Folks, after the break, we'll take a look outside the state at some national headlines. We'll be right back.
30 years living that Washington, D.C. lifestyle. That'll change a person. Getting rich from insider stock trading should be illegal. But Susan Collins doesn't think so. Susan Collins wants to keep it so senators can play the stock market, make millions of dollars doing that. Why we struggle to pay for gas, groceries, health insurance, the basics. For them to get all that money while we're paying more, it's not right. It's not right. Tell Susan Collins to stop this congressional stock trade.
Mounjaro for type 2 diabetes.
Going up?
Actually, I'm going down.
Yeah, me too. My A1C is under 7%.
Mounjaro?
You know it.
My man.
Hey. Ouch. Since I started taking Mounjaro for my type 2 diabetes, I'm a bit of a Mounjaro magnet.
I lowered my A1C and I lost some weight. Check out my pants.
I'm good.
Okay.
Never a dull moment.
With Mounjaro, 3 out of 4 adults reached an A1C under 7% and maintained it. And some lost up to 25 pounds.
Like this gal right here.
Nice, Mom.
Don't take Mounjaro if you're allergic to it, or if you or someone in your family had medullary thyroid cancer or multiple endocrine neoplasia syndrome type 2. Stop and call your doctor right away if you have an allergic reaction, a lump or swelling in your neck, severe stomach pain, or vision changes. Serious side effects may include inflamed pancreas and gallbladder problems. Taking Mounjaro with a sulfonylurea or insulin may cause low blood sugar. Tell your doctor if you're nursing, pregnant, plan to be, or taking birth control pills. And before scheduled procedures with anesthesia. Side effects include nausea, diarrhea, and vomiting, which can cause dehydration and may cause kidney problems.
Hey, Mom, what do you say we take the stairs?
Stairs is a great idea.
Ask your doctor about once weekly Mounjaro. Paid partnership with Lilly.
Your call is important to us.
You've heard this before, too many times. Tired of being customer 45978? Yeah, we would be too. Speed means fast uploads, no lag, and zero buffering. But it also means calling you back, showing up on time, and treating you like a person, not a problem. So whether you're working, streaming, gaming, or all three, it is time to make the switch to a provider that actually tries. Go NetSpeed. Service isn't dead. It just moved local.
Welcome back, and thank you for staying with us. There are new signs of a growing split within Iran's leadership as the U.S. prepares to ramp up economic pressure on the regime. Fox News chief correspondent Jonathan Hunt has more on the story.
With economic pressure about to be stepped up by the U.S., we are hearing more belligerent statements today from the Iranian leadership suggesting that Gulf countries might already be looking forward to a post-war order that effectively sidelines the United States. Iran's parliamentary speaker writing on X today, quote, "We've received numerous messages from neighboring countries about shaping new security arrangements and economic cooperation in the region. The United States put the security of every single one of its allies at such risk through bullying and pure disregard for their interests for the sake of Israel." But there is an emerging split within the Iranian leadership as prices continue to climb and the availability of goods continues to fall. The Iranian President Pezeshkian suggesting, for instance, just yesterday that it might be time to end the war. President Trump, of course, hopes that the moderates will prevail.
They are now coming around because there's not much they can say. When a country doesn't have any longer a Navy, an Air Force, radar, technical equipment, manufacturing, their leaders are gone, their second set of leaders are gone, parts of their third set of the leaders are gone. In fact, it's actually one of my biggest problems. I don't know who the hell to deal with. It's a problem.
So on Monday, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent will lay out his plan to, as he put it, isolate Iran from the world. That won't be easy. As you look at this map, you can see that Iran shares 7 land borders with different countries, not all of whom are sympathetic to the United States by any means. And to the north, you can see the Caspian Sea. That gives Iran a direct route into and out of Russia. And increasingly, they are also using a rail link across land to China, and it won't be easy for the United States to bring Russia and China on board for any sanctions against Iran. Russia and China, of course, have a vested interest in keeping the U.S. focused on Iran. In Tel Aviv, Jonathan Hunt, Fox News.
Canada's Prime Minister is vowing to match President Trump's tariffs, quote, dollar for dollar. Mark Carney's remarks earlier today comes after trade talks between the two nations collapsed. Carney saying he suspended negotiations to protect Canadian workers and businesses. This as President Trump imposed new 50% tariffs on about $20 billion worth of Canadian goods.
We've been pragmatic, patient, and persistent. We pursued every opportunity to reach an agreement that protects Canadian workers and their families, that strengthens our economy, and that respects Canadian sovereignty. We've been under no illusions. We recognized from the start that America has changed. Now, Canada will match Washington's new tariffs dollar for dollar in order to protect Canadian workers, farmers, families, and businesses. Our response will be concentrated in sectors such as steel, dairy, appliances, agricultural equipment, pulp and paper, and electronics. Also include products that are currently subject to unjustified Section 232 and 338 tariffs. This is a focused response to protect and defend our industries and allow them to compete with U.S. products in the Canadian market.
The tariffs affect a range of products, including hockey equipment, liquor, dairy products, and building materials, raising concerns about higher prices and further disruptions to trade between the two countries. Meanwhile, Senator Susan Collins, who says she has repeatedly opposed broad tariffs on Canadian goods, issued a statement today in response to the latest U.S.-Canadian tariff negotiation breakdown, urging both sides to return to the negotiating table and warns of the risk potentially brought forth if a deal isn't made. Senator Collins today saying in part, quote, Maine imports approximately $2 billion in non-petroleum products from Canada each year. Ever since the tariffs were first announced, I have heard from many businesses, farmers, and lobstermen concerned about the cost of navigating the tariffs, the lack of domestic supply chains, and the likely imposition of retaliatory tariffs by Canada, end quote. Her full statement is on our website right now, foxbangor.com. In other news, school is in session for some students here in the nation, and for some teachers, they won't be welcoming artificial intelligence into the classrooms. However, some education experts argue kids using AI is inevitable. Fox News correspondent C.B. Cotton has the story.
For a growing number of students, artificial intelligence isn't the future. It's already a part of their daily routine. According to a survey by education nonprofit Common Sense Media, 70% of teens say they use AI for their homework, while just 30% of teens say they were taught about AI safety in the classroom.
Students should really begin learning about AI literacies and artificial intelligence at the same age that they're starting to use digital technologies on a pretty regular basis.
As AI works its way into how children learn, communicate, and interact online, families are navigating how their kids should use it safely and effectively.
We certainly have a responsibility to help our students become AI literate at the middle and high school level.
Danny Harrow, a professor at Clemson University, says kids need to be taught specifically about privacy and how their data is shared with AI.
Are you sharing information about your location, where you live, your name, personal details? A lot of teens in particular, when they're working with a chatbot, they almost humanize the chatbot. They're slowly providing or giving information that could come back to do some harm.
Another AI concern among schools, cheating. Harrow acknowledges AI makes cheating easier and says teachers will have to rethink their education methods.
It could be students giving some sort of oral presentation and doing different checks. It could be asking students to reflect on the process, the work that they're doing.
Harrow recommends parents approach AI with curiosity rather than fear. In New York, CB Cotton, Fox News.
Meanwhile, the Ellsworth School Department is the latest to implement AI in the classroom.